This is Consumer Friend.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Consumer Friend podcast where we shine a light on the issues that matter most to consumers. I'm your host Adam Carter, joined by my fantastic co-host Louise Baxter. Hi LouBax, how are you?
Hi Adam.
You okay?
I'm great. It's Monday, living my best life. It's not raining. Wonderful.
We have got it's almost like a bonus episode, this one, isn't it, today?
A bonus pod.
Yeah. It's the very last
pod.
a bod. It's the very last episode in season 4. How do you feel about that, Lou?
Relieved.
Okay.
But no, I've enjoyed this season actually. I've really enjoyed this season.
It's really good. We've had a special guest on every single episode because it turns out me and you are no longer enough.
Were we ever?
No.
This is the question.
Very true. Very true.
It's nice to talk to other people and learn about other things.
Really
though,
is.
is.
Really is. Really is. So today, what we're talking about, we are going to tackle a potentially life-saving topic. E-bike and e-scooter safety. We're diving into the risks, especially when it comes to batteries and what consumers can do to protect themselves and their community. This episode also marks the start of our campaign, What Could Go Wrong, which actually looks better written down. It's a bit rubbish when you say it. What is spelt W-A-T-T, as in electricity. Louise came up with that, so well done, Louise. You're very funny.
It's like I like to play on words.
You
That's
really
my thing,
do.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I should be in marketing, I think.
Really?
I've said it twice. What? The campaign? W-A-T-T. A bonus pod, a bod.
Oh my
word.
Job. You and your play on words is crazy. So this campaign is designed to help consumers, landlords, local authorities, social housing providers understand the dangers of improperly buying, charging or storing e-bikes and e-scooter batteries. It's really important to remember that everyone has got a role to play in raising awareness, whether it's passing on information, ensuring their own batteries are safe or starting a conversation. So please, everyone, try and get involved as much as you can in this campaign and spread the word. It could really help to save people's lives.
All the campaign information will be on the website.
Thank you, Louise. To help us unpack this critical issue, we're thrilled to welcome Geraldine Cosh. She is a product safety expert with 20 years of experience in product safety and risk. Geraldine has worked with the Chartered Trading Standards Institute and the Office for Product Safety and Standards with training trading standards officers on risk assessment and product safety. Hi, Geraldine. Thank you for coming on to our podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. This is so exciting. Just watching you two is just entertaining in itself, to be fair. I just want to watch you two.
That's why we keep doing it. Yeah. On season 4, because we're both still entertained.
There'll be quite a bit that you've listened to that's going to be edited out of the main podcast. We then just laugh at each other and get everything wrong. Geraldine, thank you so much. Do you want to just give us, I mean, I know I've given you a very brief bio, but give us a bit of an idea about what you do in your regular day-to-day life.
Wow, day-to-day. It depends, right? So, I'm a product safety expert, which is actually really interesting, even though I'm not sure that everybody believes that. So when I explain that to my family members, they're like, what do you actually do? But it's kind of split up into, I guess we can simplify it, proactive or reactive. So proactive is I'll help businesses implement processes for product safety or do training. And then the reactive is where it's a little bit more stress. So if they have to do a recall or there's been an injury, or in worst case, if there's been a death associated with a product. So I've actually been an expert witness as well for product safety. But that's the more kind of stressful side when it's quickly needing to get a risk assessment done that is needed in court or somewhere. So that's kind of what I do on a daily basis. Did that answer your question? Not sure I did, but
I think so. It's really, sometimes it's really hard to explain what you do, isn't it? And someone says, Adam, what do you do? I just piss around on a podcast with Louise.
They just think I sit here on a computer all day. Do much.
What a great job.
But yeah.
I guess we should probably start with the fact that e-scooters, e-bikes, they are such a fantastic way of getting around. They have really transformed the way we travel. They're so much more energy efficient. They're way more environmentally friendly than fossil fueled motoring. But I guess with this new tech comes new responsibility. So what can you tell us around product safety in terms of what's required by these organizations that are selling these products?
Yeah. So, I mean, everyone has a responsibility. I think you said something like that a minute ago. And I think that's very, very true. The one thing that I dislike when I see is people trying to understand who they are in the supply chain. And the reason why they're asking is because they want to put someone else, it's their responsibility. So I think everybody has a role to play, whether you are a manufacturer, a distributor, working in social housing, a landlord, all of these things. Everybody has a responsibility for product safety. And it's important that everybody does that. When you're selling a product or you're manufacturing a product, it should be safe. There are laws set out there saying that the products need to be safe. The products that you sell need to be safe. But it is easier said than done, especially when we're dealing with, lithium-ion batteries, which can be quite unstable. So the manufacturing of those products is key.
The reason we were doing this podcast is, again, whilst we're trying to raise awareness, aren't we, of the, so it's buy safe, store safe, charge safe is the message behind it, because we're seeing there's an influx of people buying unsafe batteries for their e-scooters or their e-bikes, or not charging them safely, which is then causing house fires. So there's a lot of videos around that show and just how quickly these batteries explode, and then how quickly the house fires spread. So that's the reason and the rationale for why we're doing this campaign in the first place. What experience have you had in relation to that, Geraldine?
Yeah, and we can talk about electrical safety first and other people, right? I mean, I can get there. They won't mind. Absolutely. I don't think they'll mind at all. So let me put it this way. So lithium-ion batteries have been around for a long time. I remember when hoverboards first came out. Actually, my son broke his arm on a hoverboard, right? Terrible mother. Shouldn't have been on the hoverboard.
They were really dangerous.
Well, it was New Year's Eve, right? It was a Christmas present. Everyone thought it'd be really entertaining. Bless him, my little baby. So yeah, just as a product safety expert, it doesn't mean that we're immune from product safety things that happen. Of course we're not, especially with children. Lithium-ion batteries have been around for a long time. And I remember in my career in product safety, that being a significant time when hoverboards came out, because there was actually no standard at the time to deal with that type of battery and in that type of use. Because what was happening when you get on them, you kind of on start, on off, on off, on off. And the batteries couldn't really cope with that kind of pressure on them. And there was no specific standard for them. So after that, the standards were developed. And that was obviously a problem. A few of those went on fire. I think there might have been a few fatalities, actually, not in Great Britain though. So that's when I remember them being a problem in one instance. And then also with mobile phones, we all have mobile phones. I've only recently stopped charging my mobile phone at night time. You really shouldn't be charging these products at night time. My husband still charges his at night time, but he just doesn't.
I charge mine and so do my kids.
So does everybody, right? Yeah. But for me, it's one thing every day I try and do something good for myself and the world. But that's one thing I don't do, is I try not to charge. So I have it here in my office, my phone on charge during the day, but I'm at home all the time. So it's a bit tricky, right?
Yeah.
But I think charging these batteries, you should be awake. They should be in a place that is safe and secure. Any health and safety, when we're ever in buildings, if the fire exit is packed up with boxes or obstructions, that's not going to be allowed under health and safety law. And it's the same principle with these e-bikes. They're bigger. And if they are in the way of a fire exit, when they explode, that can cause a significant problem and has led to a number of fatalities, which is something that we really need to work on. When
you say there was no standard, so when these hoverboards came out, there was no standard. What does that mean to someone who doesn't work in the profession, like me? What does that actually mean, there's no standard? It's a great question, actually. So there was no specific standard for that product, but there are standards for, chargers, for plugs and for all the components of it. But in that actual composition, as the way it was, there was nothing really that covered it specifically. So then after that, UL made a standard for it, which is a test lab. But standards, so the British Standard Institute, and there are many standards for many different things, even for making a cup of tea. Bet you didn't know that. There's actually a British standard for making a cup of tea. Wow. And I'm assuming that means milk goes in last. Is that what that says? That standard says? I always think the milk goes in first, and I've never checked that. Okay. I actually always put the milk in first. So I need to check it in the standards. I need to download the standards. But there are so many standards out there for so many different products. And the problem is that the standards and the legislation can't keep up with the pace of product development. So products are coming out so quickly
people are making them overnight, and you get these kind of fads of things. Like I remember, fidget spinners came out and all the kids wanted them. Then all of a sudden they don't want them, loom bands, all these things come out and then they disappear. And by the time the committees have got together to develop the standard, it's too late. Yeah. So unfortunately, that's just life, and that's the way that it is. So I'm involved in standards development. I'm the technical author of a few standards, and it does take time, but rightly so. You have to sit in a room and have, intelligent conversations with the right people in the room. I also work as a consumer rep on standards as well, but production and manufacturing and marketing and everything just happens a lot quicker. So the legislation, the standards can't keep up. So that's what I meant by the hoverboards when they first came out. There wasn't a specific standard for them. And I think for e-bikes, I should really know this, right, being on this podcast, but the standards, what it comes under and what the product actually is. I remember there being a discussion, is it a machine? Is it electrical appliance? Where does it fit under? And what legal framework does it sit under? And how is it regulated is key, because if it's out used on the road, for example, is that different jurisdiction to trading standards, etc.? So all of these little nuances need to be figured out.
So what's the responsibility on a business, on a supplier selling these products? What's their responsibility regarding those standards? So that British standard, for example.
Yeah. So if there's standards that are applicable, the manufacturer has the highest level of responsibility. But if you are a distributor or you're buying something outside of Great Britain, now that the EU exit thing has happened,
the world has got bigger or smaller, I should say. The world has got smaller. We can now buy stuff from everywhere.
And that's, if you don't buy products direct from Great Britain, certain laws might not apply and your consumer protection laws might not apply. And that's what makes it really, really difficult. And it makes it difficult for the people that are trying to keep you safe as well. So the government departments, the trading standards officers, don't have jurisdiction in other countries. So one of the things I would say, if as a consumer is buying products, where the business you're buying from is based in Great Britain is something to think about. It's not, always the right way, but having a look at that, because then there will be fallback. And if there is a recall or notification, they can get information to you. If you are a manufacturer, then you really need to make sure that you're complying with the standards in the countries that you're selling to. So if you're selling to the US, to GP, to Europe, you need to know what those standards are and get advice on what those standards are. And that's a minimum.
So if I was to use China as an example, because I think we should probably use China because that's where the majority of these items are being manufactured. It's up to, if those manufacturers in China are specifically going to sell here in the UK, it's up to them to make sure that the products comply with the British standards.
Yeah, it's everyone's responsibility, right? If they're manufacturing that for a brand that's based here, then the brand has responsibility too, and who the manufacturer is or isn't and what name's on the product. It gets really complex or really interesting, whatever way you want to look at it. China is an amazing country. I was there last year educating manufacturers about product safety, and there are some amazing manufacturers and factories, experts, real experts on lithium-ion batteries. And the key thing is about the manufacturer, it's not just about complying that one product complies, it's about consistency in manufacture, and that's actually where the issues arise. So if you look at the Electrical Safety First website, has a really great video on lithium-ion batteries and how thermal runaway can happen. And if there's any instability in that battery, which can happen during manufacturing, that's where the problem's going to arise. So the manufacturer needs to be a key good manufacturer in lithium-ion batteries, not somebody that's just doing it for one day, which I doubt people buy from them. But yeah.
Well, but we talk about buying safe. When we talk about buying safe, what should consumers be looking for?
It is really tricky, and it's, electrical products, I would say in general, even in my family, my husband might send me something and say, can you buy this from this place? And I would just be like, it doesn't feel comfortable or right, because back to the point where I was saying, it's about consumer redress. Who am I going to go to when something goes wrong? For me, this is the best thing in life and in business is have an argument and see if they fight fair. So if I have a problem with my product, electrical or not, who am I going to contact and what is their customer service going to be like? If the people that you're buying from, you don't have any information, you don't know where they are, you don't know where they're based, that's going to make it very difficult to have a nice, healthy debate or argument. And I think that's important. And in business as well, if you're manufacturing products and in your supply chain, test them and say, right, I've had a customer complaint. How are you going to help me with this. And they should hopefully do like a failure modes effect analysis with you and investigate what the fault was. Or are they going to close down and run away and not talk to you again? Then that's a problem.
So when we talk about buy safe, you're talking about also conversion kits and things where people then change the original makeup of the thing that they bought. So basically they've tampered with it, which causes, Geraldine, those additional safety issues, doesn't it? When somebody buys something and then they modify it, or I want to say tamper with it when they're not an expert, which then can cause what was potentially a safe item for it then to become unsafe.
Yeah, I think, you have to be really careful when you're seeing things like conversion kits or, even any products that are out there. Just because they're being sold doesn't mean they're safe or that they comply. And I think fundamentally, I would say avoid any conversion kits, to be honest. But also have a look at, Electrical Safety First. Their website is phenomenal, gives some further information. Regarding storage, we know, I live in London. My house isn't huge. I don't have a huge real estate. So there's not enough room to store some of these things, but just please be careful when you're storing any items, making sure that they're not in the way of getting out in case there's an emergency that you need to get out, and also attending them when they're being charged. Because if you're asleep while it's on charge, then your reactions are going to be a lot less than if you're awake.
So there's two things with that, isn't there? So you've got your batteries that are either substandard, counterfeit, unsafe, or damaged because they've been tampered with by the consumer who thinks they're trying to convert them, or bought a conversion kit of some sort to do that and haven't installed it properly. So those things can cause fires. Then there's improper storage, which is blocking your exit with a massive bike or scooter, or charging it in the house overnight and it overheating and the battery's blowing up. There's lots of safety hazards. So it's not just about the batteries blowing up or counterfeit goods or anything. So there's lots of ways that these things can potentially be harmful.
Some of the videos that we found online around e-bike fires have been crazy to see how quickly from spark to full-blown fire it actually happens. Like within 10-15 seconds you can have a huge fire on your hands, and it could be it's really, really scary stuff.
The thing is with these things, it's right. So where some of the work that we're doing in relation to this campaign is going to be trying to work with social housing providers for them to get the messages out to their customer base, because we're aware that there's in some housing, there's, like you've said, in London, for example, there's limited space for people to store what isn't it really, it's a really expensive piece of kit as well. It's not a cheap thing. So they don't want to leave them outside because there's fear of them being stolen. So it's trying to find a solution. And if people have no choice but to store them inside, how would they do that safely?
I feel bad like trying to recommend things there, because all I can say, when you're storing these, even charged or uncharged, just don't leave them in a fire exit. And that goes for anything, any item really. Even like we say in office buildings, if you've got loads of cardboard boxes, if something goes wrong, it goes catastrophically wrong very, very quickly. And these lithium-ion batteries can go up very, very quickly. And I've seen, I attend conferences where they show videos and it is catastrophic. So if something goes wrong, you want them in a place that you can get away from very, very quickly. And as it says on the Electrical Safety First website, don't try and tackle it yourself, just get out and then call the emergency services to deal with it. So if in the place that you're in, if it needs to be inside, ideally it shouldn't be inside, but we get it because of the price of the products and theft, etc. But you want to put it in a place that is not going to be close to you if you need to get out. Does that make sense? Or not in the way.
So in terms of fires, we've got some limited data, but I do obviously have some stats because you know me, I do love a stat. We've got some figures that have been collated from 38 fire and rescue services, and they say that the fires caused by e-bikes and e-scooters are on the rise. So in 2020, there were 77 reported incidents. 2021, there was 159. So what's that? Over double. In 2022, 227, and the forecast for 2023, I haven't seen the official stats for 2023, 338. So it is on the rise. There are certain reasons that have been highlighted around the reasons why there has been an increase in fire, and they say that the highest risk is while batteries are charging. So as we've discussed, try not to charge overnight, try and charge when you're supervised. London Fire Service has identified the gig.
When you're supervised,
when they're supervised.
I need to be supervised.
Louise, you should always
charge
be
my
supervised.
Bike. Excellent. I I definitely
London
should
Fire
always
Brigade
be
has
right.
identified the gig economy delivery riders as a particularly high-risk user group due to widespread use of owner-modified e-cycles. Incidence of fire is on the increase, so we need to be making sure that we're buying safe, that we're charging safe, and we're storing safe.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I'd say is there's also the other side, which is part of the work that we do, is encouraging people to consider the greener energy solution. So we know that these are better for the environment as well. So you have to pedal a little bit on electric bikes, don't you? Just not as much as you would on a normal bike uphill.
Absolutely right. My dad is 73, 74, and he has had an electric bike for about 6 or 7 years now, goes everywhere on it, and hasn't lost any weight yet.
So there is the environmental benefit to them as well. So we don't just want to say that they're all bad. It's just that you have to be careful in relation to the things that we've said, which is buy safely, buy from a reputable trader, store them safely. So make sure they're not blocking your fire exits, and charge them safely. Make sure that not only are you supervised, but your bike and the charging is supervised at all times when you're charging the batteries.
Geraldine, would you like to add anything to what we've said already?
I was just going to say, but I don't know if it will work here, how you edit it in, but also about having the smoke alarm, which is a good thing to have anyway, making sure that your smoke alarm works. But I think if you are charging this, say you have a spare room or it is in a place where you are charging inside, it is ensuring that your smoke alarm works, because that could be a lifesaver too, not just from e-bikes, but in general. And apart from that, I mean, when people say reputable retailer, some people argue that and like, well, what does it mean? And it doesn't mean that just because it is a big brand, it doesn't mean they're never going to have an issue. You know, some of the biggest manufacturers in the world have issues, but the point I would say to that is that at least they will try and contact you, and it will be well known if it is a product that's affected, you know, or have batch control, etc. So I would say that, you know, buying from a reputable retailer is a good thing.
You want to have someone to complain to when you buy something. So when we talk about reputable retail, it's about someone to complain to, somebody to say there's something wrong with this.
Yeah, and it's someone you can contact in this country that's taking responsibility for it, because that's where your consumer rights are going to sit. And if they're not here, then it's going to make it very difficult for anyone. You know, Citizens Advice, if you contact them, the government, etc., they can't do anything if they're not based here in this country. So,
Geraldine, thank you so much. I understand that you've got some webinars coming up. Do you want to just quickly mention the webinars?
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm very excited about those webinars. I am doing 15 webinars on 5 different topics.
Wow.
So one of them is on general safety, another one on childcare products, then products you find in the bathroom, the bedroom and the kitchen. And they will be repeated 3 times. And then I'm doing some in-person sessions as well. So hopefully I get lots of people to attend those and learn more about consumer safety, because it is fun.
And how would I find out about that?
On my website. And I should be releasing stuff. It's not out yet. That's so rubbish. I'll send you the details when it comes out. I'm working on it this week. We're doing adverts on Facebook and stuff like that, but it's on my website. Actually, I'll send you them. And
we'll stick your website onto the show notes. So below the line, you can see where the website is, and you can access it there as well. Geraldine, thank you so much. Louise, anything to add?
No, don't think so.
No, you looking forward to this campaign?
I love a campaign. You know, I love that. I like educating people. And the safety stuff is really fun because people don't realise how important it is. And actually, there's an assumption that buying from lots of online big platforms, that the things that you're buying are actually safe, and they're not always. So it's really important that we check and we use the things that we're buying correctly. So these sort of campaigns are a bit of a game changer.
Understanding how what we do can really affect our home, our communities, and how we need to kind of understand a bit more about how to be safe in the world
Consumer
with new
literacy.
technology constantly. Consumer literacy, exactly right. That's what we're gonna start. Consumer Friend, available at www.consumerfriend.org.uk. Please like, subscribe, share, review, rate, whatever platform you're on. Also, get onto that website and download our campaign material if you're a social housing provider, local authority, general consumer that just wants to kind of raise awareness of this important issue. Then please get on and download the materials and share it on your social media platforms. Geraldine, thank you.
Thank you.
Louise, thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
This is Consumer Friend.